just part of the collection of that most excellent actress, Judi Dench. And I've come here to her lovely home in Surrey to ask her what are her favourite things. Why hearts, Judi?
Well, I don't know how it started, but it started quite a long time ago. People gave me, I think there was a phase at one time for those little cosmetic sponges to be put in plastic heart-shaped containers. And when I was given one of those, I thought, that's very pretty. I'm sure that's one of those things that I'd like to keep by me, and I kept it. And then after that, I got a series of things, like people gave me little heart tins and crocheted hearts and wooden ones, and I don't know how many I've got, but I've got a huge collection now.
Yeah.
And after collecting them for quite a long time and receiving them for quite a long time, I decided I'd put them all up on the wall. I thought, that is a collection now, I'll have to put that up. Mm. And then it's gone on from there. It's
one of many collections, isn't it? Because you collect more or less anything.
Yes, I do. Yes, I've got a lot of teddy bears. Between my daughter and myself, we have a huge amount, which we also suddenly realised that we had so many that we better put them all together. So we've put them all together on a window ledge where they look at us, so we see them daily. They grow quite well. I mean, even this Easter they grew by 2.
Yes. No, teddy bears, it's very easy for a teddy bear collection to grow out of all recognition.
That's right. And it's also a very good talking point, especially as they're just by a room that any guest stays in. So usually nearly everybody who stays with us has some story about a teddy bear. So we collect the stories as well.
Did your collecting start as a child?
Yes, I think it did. I remember very early on collecting things for a doll's house, and that's still gone on. I still do that, I'm afraid. I can't resist doll's house things.
It's not fully furnished yet.
It is fully. It's over-furnished, Roy. In fact, it's going to probably spread into 2 houses, but Michael doesn't know that yet.
I see, yes.
But my father made me a doll's house when I was very small, and it was beautifully furnished when I got it. In fact, I remember coming in on Christmas Day, and on the front doorstep were 2 extremely small milk bottles and a letter halfway through the door, posted through the door, which he had made. And it had a wonderful Hoover cupboard under the stairs. It's very dilapidated now. And we redid it for Finty when she was very little. And we had a lovely time doing it. And Norma Whittard, who makes costumes at Stratford, used to come out and help us. She was responsible for the bathroom decoration. But I redid the whole of the roof, but I'm afraid the cats have duffed the roof up a bit. And the chimney pot is one of those ones you can move to any place in the roof. But I love it still.
I'm intrigued by your daughter's name, Finty. It's such an attractive name and such an unusual one.
Yes, her name is Tara, so it's not short for anything. It just was an accident, really. And Michael thought of it. I think because we were so sure that we were going to have a son, that we were going to call him Finn or Finian. And when she was born and Michael was there, I think he just said, oh, it's Finty. And it completely stuck, and stuck at school. People can't remember it, of course.
Your childhood, of course, was in Yorkshire.
Yes.
In the city of York itself?
Just outside, in a place that was known as the Forest of Galters. As a child, my earliest recollection was hearing owls, and the Forest of Galters was renowned for owls, apparently, whereas there's none of the forest left, but the owls have remained. So we were called York Without, which was without the walls.
That's rather nice. York Without.
Yes, I love it still. I was back there just recently, and they've done most beautiful things to the city. And my mother was the most incredible collector of things about York and the history of York. There was nothing she didn't know about it. And so I knew all those tiny little alleyways throughout York. The Shambles and Mucky Peg's Alley and Bedden and Aldwork. And they're beautiful now. A lot of the houses have been restored. It's extremely beautiful.
And I guess that Yorkshire is still a favourite place. You go back there a lot.
I do go back there as much as I can, Roy, because I have family still there. And it takes my breath away every time I go back. I realise how beautiful it is. I don't think, probably I realised that as much when I was a child.
Yeah.
But we were always taken, my father was a doctor, and on his day off, we used to go, sometimes a favourite thing was to go for a picnic up by Pickering on the moors and go across to Scarborough or Whitby. We'd go across to Scarborough for a swim. And there was a wonderful place on the moors, which we called the Devil's Punch Bowl. I don't think that was its real name, but I know that at the bottom of this immensely long hill is a pub where the fire is never meant to have gone out. It's always perpetuated in the grate.
Yeah.
And that, to me, as a child, was, I mean, everybody who was in the car was told this in great detail. And this place, the Devil's Punch Bowl, which I can't think, as I say, that it was the most extraordinary valley. And the road, you just come off the road and suddenly this valley falls right away. There's a farm right down in the valley. And in fact, when Finty was very little and Michael and I were up there, we took her, and this tiny little baby, we held her in front of this view. And everything blew backwards. And poor Finty, she was introduced to it very young. But it's a lovely place and somewhere I'd always like to go back to.
What were your early ambitions as a child?
My first ambition was to be the owner of a fish shop.
Really?
Oh, rivetingly.
Why? I mean, it was the smell of fish.
No, it's the look of it. It's the feel and the look of it. And we used to live outside York in a place called Heworth. Mm-hmm. I told you, York without. And under the Monk Bar, which we had to walk under to come from town, there was a fish shop. I don't expect it's still there now. But it was one of those fish shops where it's all marble and open, and water was running down. And the fish were all arranged in little circles, and the crabs and things like that. And very early on, I took some kippers from there.
You mean you stole?
Stole them. And my mother found out when we were in, you go straight back and take them back. It was a difficult thing to have to do, but it didn't cure me. I do love open fish shops. I love the look of it, and fish is such pretty colours, and especially when it's kept a bit damp. I mean, a herring under a bit of water looks so pretty, and place and the orange spots. And if you're lucky, a lobster or two. You don't see those much, but the prawns and everything. I love that, so I did want very much to have something to do with the fish.
But some people, of course, find the smell of fish offensive.
Yes, but I think it's the smell of bad fish that is offensive, not good fresh fish with the water running all the time. I'd see that my shop had that.
And kitchen smells, of course, can be marvellous.
Yes, all those usual ones like bread making, and which I don't do, and coffee and orange juice, and particularly a smell of a wood fire. That's lovely.
Yes, and a good curry.
Yes, a good curry, which lingers.
Certainly, 3 days for a good one.
At least, yes. Yes, I like all that.
Scents are obviously very important to you.
Yes, and I suspect that that when I was taken as a child to the York Theatre Royal, and the curtain went up, I could smell. There's a certain smell that came over the footlights, which I imagine was a kind of little seed that dropped down, which later was to be something I would remember. Also, in York, they used to clean the theatre with something. I think Jay's fluid. And that smell, I used to love that smell and associate it with the theatre. Then it wasn't till I came a long time later to Stratford with my parents, also before I thought of being an actress. There was a certain smell in the dress circle of the Memorial Theatre, as it was then at Stratford. Not the same smell as the Theatre Royal, but suddenly another smell that made me very excited. I've always associated it with Stratford, and I've always loved it.
Yes.
And I love those kind of things like, the smell of real leather when you get into a car. Do you remember when you were a child and you burnt your car in the sun, and you got into the car again and burnt the backs of your legs? But that wonderful smell of leather, I love that. And stationery, I'm very keen about that. New books. I love to smell the bindings of new books. And pencils, I like all those kind of smells. I'd like a stationery shop, as well as a fish shop.
Liking pencils and crayons and that sort of thing, do you think that's something to do with having been a designer?
Probably. I mean, I find it irresistible to go into a shop and see rows and rows of pencils and crayons and paints and brushes and things, and empty books. I love empty books to draw.
They're so shiny, aren't they?
Aren't they? And so expectant. And I love that. And I shouldn't say that I was a designer. I did train towards being a designer, but I did change my mind by going to Stratford and seeing, when I saw King Lear, Michael Redgrave as King Lear, and a wonderful set by Robert Cahoon, amazing set that was just a rock, and it turned round in the middle of the stage, just this enormously bare stage, and this rock became everything. And, cave and throne and everything, and I thought, this is supreme designing. And that's when I changed my mind about it. And maybe it was all those smells of the theatre that made me, and the fact that my brother had been an actor before me, had changed my mind.
And it wasn't long before you were working at Stratford.
No, and I remember at the time that I went and remembered that smell, I also saw Marius Goring in The Taming of the Shrew with Yvonne Mitchell. And afterwards, I was much too shy to go and ask for an autograph, but I did see him. I saw a matinee, and I saw him come out in a pair of grey trousers and a white shirt and post a letter in the box there. And that was for me a supreme, almost as good as seeing The Taming of the Shrew. And then it wasn't till years later when I went to Stratford in 1962 for my first season, and I played opposite Marius and Tom Fleming in Measure for Measure. And it was quite a long time before I told him that that I had seen him and admired him.
Yes.
I didn't think it was quite right to say as a schoolgirl, so I kept that going. I have another thing which I like very much, which, because of talking about Stratford, it's reminded me. I don't know where this has come from, but when I was rehearsing The Winter's Tale with Trevor Nunn, I happened to say to him one evening, I think Barry Ingham and Trevor and I were all having dinner at the Duck one evening when we got very, very silly and laughed a great deal, and I happened to let go that one of my most favourite things, it must have been something happening with me growing up, some kind of vision that I'd had, was seeing a man sit backwards away on a chair with a towel around his neck and a great big watch. I don't know where this has come from. I have no idea. I can't remember the man. I just know that it's very disturbing for me to see this person sitting backwards away on the chair with a towel. And so the next morning when I went into rehearsal, there was a great line of actors sitting backwards way round on the chair. I hasten to add that they were dressed as well, not just in a towel and a big watch, but this wonderful thing. I like that very much. This is a great favourite thing of mine.
What about Stratford as a town, as a place?
Well, it's very bewitching to go up at the beginning of the season when the willows are just coming out and before all the tourists arrive. You're working there, you feel very much part of it. And it does weave a certain spell over you. And when you're during the season, it's a very curious feeling that people who come up to Stratford to visit you, somehow you feel very insular there. And they are like real proper visitors. They come and then they go away, and there you are in your little contained group. And what is very nice is at the end of a long summer day when everybody goes away and you're left in your own house and feeling part of the actual village itself. Town, I should say, town.
So Stratford and naturally Yorkshire, favourite places. Are there any other places that you particularly love?
Yes, I love Ireland because my mother was from Dublin and my father lived over there since he was a very little boy, and so all my relations, in fact, are over there. Well, nearly all my relations are over there. And I love Ireland, and I also love Scotland. And as far as I know, I have no family links with Scotland, though somebody only the other day said that they came across a Mrs. Dench who lived near Gairloch, who they thought was related, so I must follow that up if I can, because I feel very, very strongly about, there are certain parts of Scotland that I feel really passionately strongly about, and we try and go there as much as we can, and certainly once every year.
When you go to Scotland, do you like to move around? Do you stay in a favourite hotel or circulate?
We do have a favourite hotel that we stay in on the west coast just for a couple of nights in Edinburgh. But we just really take the tent and we go off and find out whose land we're on and ask them if we may put our tent up there. And that's what we do. And then we sometimes move back quite a lot. But if it rains a great deal, I get a bit crabby. So then Michael says, I think we'll go to a hotel for the night.
Yeah.
And we do to dry out. Well, we have to.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't cope, can you?
Are you and Michael skilled campers?
Well, I think we are now. But when we first put the tent up, and I was a very skilled camper as a very small girl, but when we first decided we'd go, we put the tent up on its side, and we kept thinking, what is this? This tent went up and up and up. We said, what is this tent for? I mean, it's only for 3 of us. Well, it could have done for about 42 of us. We could have put up very nicely there. Nobody would have been cramped. But we nearly always manage at some point to just go through Edinburgh, because I think that
that is a favourite place.
It's, I think, the most beautiful city in the world I've been to. And I love it there again for the history, because it's a city built on rock. I feel that it can't have changed much, you know, because York, for instance, we must be walking well above the level that the Romans walked, or whoever, when they occupied York, medieval York. But in Edinburgh, I actually somehow feel that we're walking on rock. And so you're the level between you there is very, very thin. I love it, that city.
Of course, you've played quite a lot in Scotland.
Yes, I have. At Edinburgh, with the Vic. Twice, I think, yes, twice. 12th night at the Assembly Hall, and then we were at the Lyceum with the Double Dealer.
Yes.
But not enough. I mean, I would like to go back very, very much indeed to act there.
Nowadays, of course, an actress doesn't work in one medium. Which medium do you think you slot into most easily?
The theatre, I think, Roy. I mean, I've been asked this question a lot of times, and it's only now really, having been asked it a lot of times and really thought about it, that I think it is the theatre, only because you get more chances to get it right. Also, there's a tremendous gift of the audience actually coming out of their homes and buying a ticket and coming to the theatre. It seems to me the reward of doing it back to them is very little to ask.
So you'd certainly declare that acting is a favourite thing?
Yes, acting is a favourite thing, and a wonderful way of communicating. It only once, when we were doing St Joan at Nottingham, for some reason the dress rehearsal was delayed, and we all got ready. We were all ready, made up and everything, and we're sitting in the green room. The sun was pouring in through the window. And I suddenly looked around at all these grown people dressed in knitted chain mail, and I thought, this is absurd. I don't know what I'm doing here. But I have to add also that I loved playing it, and I was very happy in the production. But it was an absurdity suddenly to see these people when you could look out and see the ordinary, sensible people going about their everyday work.
Yeah. But you can always accept your own illusion.
I can't accept my own, but I hope other people will accept it. And I feel more comfortable when I'm dressed up as somebody else, being somebody else and talking. So I can't make a speech in public. People would say to me, if you would come along as so-and-so and dress up in these clothes and wear a wig and look entirely different, I could perhaps do a speech, but I find it difficult to go along as myself. I don't find this difficult because I'm talking to you as a friend and we're having a conversation. Mm-hmm. But I find the actual business of making a speech to a lot of people painfully difficult.
After a strenuous performance, how long does it take you to relax and get back to reality?
It doesn't take long at all with me. I find that Michael, when he comes home, he can't actually go to bed at the same time as I do because he's on such a high after it that he has to pad about the house, changing the pictures and pushing the furniture around. But the thing I like best is to do 2 shows and then come back and watch the late-night movie. Vincent Price, I like the, Fall of the House of Usher. I love it. I don't mind how many times I see it. Mm-hmm. But I do find that is the most wonderful way of relaxing.
Yes, having done a couple of performances yourself, you now sit down and watch somebody else give one.
Absolutely. And have the joy of being able to turn off if I want and go to bed. Or, I'd like to be able to do that sometimes during an evening performance of my own.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Dreadful, of course, if somebody walked out of the theatre That's the one person that you can see.
Yes, there was one moment in the Comedy of Errors at Stratford when I didn't have anybody coming to the show that evening, and I was not feeling very much like it. I couldn't get the energy together. So I said to Michael and to Roger Rees and Nick Grace, and I said, I am doing it for the lady. I saw a lady. I am doing it for this lady who was sitting in green on the second row on the right-hand side. And I played up a storm until suddenly we came back after the interval and she left.
Oh, no.
It was a pretty poor second half.
Judi, going back to Vincent Price, what you were saying just now about the effect he has on you, on the late-night movie, there he is doing his very best to terrify the living daylights out of you, and you find him sort of soothing and restful.
I do. I must admit that sometimes I'm afraid watching, but it's the kind of fright and the kind of escapism that I want at that time of the evening. That lovely dark red voice. Wonderful.
And you realise there's no truth in it.
Yes, I hope there isn't, yes. Don't make me nervous, Roy. I shall never watch again.
This is indeed a far cry from the horror world of Vincent Price. You have from time to time said that you may give up the theatre and paint. How serious were you?
Very serious indeed. It was when I had a daughter. I mean, not giving up for any other reason than with a family. I wanted to be at home. And that feeling has gone on, though Michael persuaded me not to give up when she was born. And so we try always as much as we can to be together.
Yes,
Well,
very successfully on that.
Well, so far, Roy, we don't look ahead. We just go day by day, really, and hope that we can organise something that enables us to be together as much as we can. But I sometimes think that that I would like to. I used to paint a lot, and I sometimes wish that I could settle down to painting. I find I can't do that unless I'm on holiday, so I have to content myself with buying other people's paintings, and I mean no paintings of enormous. I don't go in for it in an enormously expensive way, but I do collect some people that I've discovered and that I love. For instance, a painter called Lal Hitchcock, which I've just discovered, which I gave Michael for a wedding anniversary, who paints in absolutely miniature scale things, which I love. And so I content myself with looking at those instead of doing it myself.
Yes. What other hobbies do you have?
I like making things. I love making fancy dresses and things like that for my daughter.
Yeah.
But I also like doing tapestry or petit point or something like that. And I make a lot of cushions, especially in the theatre. If I have any breaks of any kind, I make cushions. And it's very nice to look at afterwards, Roy, because you remember. I have a cushion that I have Michael and Finty and my initials all worked into. And I remember that I was doing it during Much Ado at Stratford and sitting in the green room doing it at that time. And it's full of the colours that were used in that production, which is a kind of accident, but nevertheless it is those colours. And I like the intricacy of making something which has got things hidden in it that perhaps just somebody glancing at the cushion wouldn't see.
You obviously enjoy intricate workmanship. I mean,
Yes.
even as a corner table pastime, jigsaw puzzles.
Yes, I'm passionate about jigsaw puzzles and always have one on the go, if possible, so that anybody can do it. We had friends down one weekend, and Michael Reddington and his wife, in fact, and he had a terrible cold, in fact, just breaking into flu. But he stayed up till about 1:30 in the morning with me, still doing this jigsaw. I find that very engrossing. I think that some people call it a terrible waste of time, jigsaws and crosswords, but I love both of them. And I like anything where something is hidden. That's why I'm a tremendous fan of Kit Williams, who wrote that marvellous book Masquerade, you remember, and you had to look for the hidden treasure in it and everything, and all the clues. And his new book, where you've got to actually try and find the title of the book, which we haven't done yet, and I don't think we've got much time to find it now, but we shall do our best. But anything of that kind, of that sort, anything that has some kind of trick in it or secret in it, I love to work out.
Working on these rather solitary pursuits, you give no idea of being a solitary person in any way.
No, I'm not a solitary person, Roy. In fact, I'm absolutely the opposite. I'm a Sagittarian, and they're extremely gregarious, and I'm that. I get extremely impatient with my own company. That's why I think I work on them a lot. I don't like being in a dressing room on my own. I hate that. And so perhaps the cushion is another thing entirely. Perhaps it's a kind of comforter that I have to have. I really like being with a lot of friends. I mean, a most favourite thing of mine is being with a group of friends and playing pencil and paper games, or any kind of daft games, and just a group of people telling stories about their experiences in the theatre or anything else. I enjoy all that, and I think I have to know either I'm all right at being on my own, but I have to know that somebody is eventually coming home, or that somebody's going to be here.
One thing you do enjoy very much are practical jokes. Have you any particularly successful ones you can tell us about?
I do enjoy them enormously, and not those very intricate, rather cruel ones, because I think you can go to some lengths and probably it can be very cruel. But I do love Maris Goring once at Stratford, I believe, put his own name on every single dressing room door when he had friends coming round. So everyone was totally confused. And I have put, I have to say, with the help of John Mills, I have put 2 stage weights in somebody's suitcase in a musical that we were doing.
Yes.
And then we couldn't control ourselves, I'm afraid. And also, it's been played on me. I mean, a lot of things have been played on me. Like, I got a spot on my chin when I was playing Viola in Twelfth Night in Australia. And I was rather concerned about this spot on my chin. And the company knew this, and I was doing everything I could to cover it up. And when we came to the last scene one afternoon, everyone came on. As each character came on, they all had a spot on their chin. So I think this terrible rash broke out suddenly. It's very nice. I like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Very much indeed. I like the jokes best, really. And unless somebody has a sense of humour, especially in the theatre...
Oh, indeed.
I think you can't go... Unless you can afford to laugh at yourself an enormous amount, I think you can't really begin.
If you had to say what is your favourite thing of all, what would it be?
It would have to be, if it's allowed, it would have to be that it isn't thing at all, it's people that are the most favourite. Because that thing of sharing jokes or sharing even experiences or sharing a company together or whatever beats anything, really. Beats pictures or everything.
This is one of the great things about the theatre, about show business, about the comradeship.
I think so. And also very much about actors, because they are not... they're not bothered about colour or creed or age or class or anything. It doesn't really mean anything. There's a kind of universal language, and that's very important.